Monday the 8th, and I'm sure as I break down some of these fights, I'm sure by fight day something will fall through. So, pending that happens, we'll see about that. I'm just gonna get straight into it and break the fights down from the bottom of the card all the way up to the top. But before I do that, I just wanted to mention, just kind of going through this card, I don't really like, from a betting perspective, it's not that great of a betting card for me, and personally. So I do plan on NTing down. I'd rate this card, for betting purposes, maybe like a C minus, maybe a C or something. So yeah, I don't have strong opinions on everybody in this card. So it's just kind of slim pickings for me. So next week I do plan on upping my ante. So I do have picks on the next week's card, and I have a couple picks on the week after that as well. But for this one, I'm going to be keeping it low. All right. With that said, first fight of the card is Brian Kelleher versus Ricky Simón. They've been scheduled to fight a couple of times now. Ricky Simón ended up fighting some other dude, finished the fight, and then called out Brian Kelleher. So the odds on Ricky Simón are a little bit too wide, in my opinion. Like, I do expect him to win this fight. I mean, like, let me take that back. I do think that he should be the rightful favorite here. However, I kind of think Brian Kelleher is a live dog in this spot here, in this matchup at least. So I actually think the odds should be lined a little bit closer than negative 250, and then having to come back on Brian Kelleher be plus 210. So I think the real line should be like Ricky Simón negative 180 or something. I think that's a little bit more logical. And the reason why is because how they match up, and Ricky Simón should have the wrestling advantage here. He should be able to get Brian Kelleher down at points, and his striking is serviceable to hang with Brian Kelleher and things like that too. So I think because he has the wrestling advantage and he's going to be the one being able to put Brian Kelleher on his back is the reason why he should be favored. However, there's a couple things that he needs to be really, really, really careful of and really minding his P's and Q's, and that's, sticking his head where it don't belong, because, Brian Kelleher has a really, really good guillotine choke. And so, if he goes in for a shot and, tries to run the pipe the wrong way or something, Brian Kelleher could snatch up a guillotine and take his neck home with him. Then as far as the striking department goes, I think Kelleher is a very, very crafty veteran. He's a very, pretty skilled boxer, I would say. And he's got some good footwork. He slings that right hand. He's got some power there, and like I said, he's a very crafty veteran. He's been in the game for a while now as well, and just the thoughts of Ricky Simón getting dropped by Uriah Faber, you can't really get that image out of your head. So something to be very careful about. So for me, this is going to be a dog or pass situation. I might throw a couple of action bets on Brian Kelleher. However, a spot that I actually think is a pretty good prop, if props are available to you, is the Brian Kelleher No Scorecards, because Simón is usually a takedown and rinse and repeat type guy. So I don't think he's going to be able to finish Kelleher here. But I think Kelleher can finish him should he win. So I'd take a look at that No Scorecards prop on Kelleher's end. And then also maybe throw a little bit of change on Kelleher by third on finish, just in case it gets kind of dicey in that third round. But I'm not saying Kelleher I'm expecting him to win it all, but I definitely think that the odds are very wide, and might throw a little bit of change on Kelleher. So yeah. Bobby Green versus I'm sure this thing's out of order. I'm just going by best fight odds here. But next fight, Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Bobby Green is a pretty big favorite, negative 260, and Miller is plus 220. I think the odds are a little too wide. However, I do expect Bobby Green to outbox Jim Miller on the feet. and also keep the fight standing. He's pretty slick dude, but man, like, sometimes you can never count Jim Miller out, man. And like, you know, he's older and battle more now, and probably doesn't have the best gas tank these days either. But yeah, I just can't. It's just too big of a line for Bobby Green, so I wouldn't play that money line. It's too deep here, so it's a skip for me. I'm not even gonna. I don't think I'm gonna call it a dog or pass situation, but man, yeah, the odds are just too wide, and I mean, but you know, the pick in the end is gonna be Bobby Green just being able to, you know, pick his shots on standing, you know, keep the fight standing, and win on points pretty much. So, but yeah, that's a no bet for me because the line's too wide. Belal Muhammad versus Diego Lima, and Belal is negative 325. I think Belal is gonna roll here. It's kind of an easy pick. However, you know, the odds are pretty damn steep, negative 325. So not much value there. However, I think that's a, you know, as opposed to the other two heavy favorites, I think that this one should roll here. And you know, Belal has a blockhead. He has a motor on him. You know, he does a lot of volume. He's a very, very well-rounded guy. Like, you know, he's a good, you know, Frankie Edgar-esque type fighter. And you know, he's gonna work for your money, definitely. And he gets stronger as the fight goes longer as well. So you know, there's a lot to like about Belal. But here, yeah, I don't expect Diego Lima to. I don't expect Diego Lima to have a. I don't think he can win. He's gonna win here. So yeah. Anthony Hernandez versus Rodolfo Vieira. I have a pretty big bet on Vieira in a parlay from last week that's gonna end, and I put $100 down to win 5,000. So it's like a 6-man parlay or something. But yeah, Vieira is gonna pretty much take this guy down and choke him out with either an arm triangle or a rear naked choke. So I mean, Vieira, you know, he's a jiu-jitsu. I mean, look, his nickname is the Black Belt Hunter, and Anthony Hernandez's nickname is Fluffy. So I'll be damned if a guy named Fluffy beats a guy named the Black Belt Hunter. Shit. So, but how they match up, you know, Hernandez, you know, most of his wins come by submission, so I do expect him to need to have to grapple at some point in most of his fights and almost all his fights. And once that happens, you know, Vieira's gonna take him down or reverse him or whatever it may be, and find the choke from there. I'm expecting a first round finish or maybe even an early second round finish. There is one thing though, is that you know, Hernandez probably has the more gritty, you know, stand up here, so maybe he might be able to, you know, pepper up Vieira here and maybe kind of beat him on the feet or something. But I really don't expect the fight. I mean, he'd have to do a pretty masterclass stand-up fight that I've never seen him do before. So I don't expect him to do it here. So yeah, Vieira by submission. Jimmy Rivera versus Pedro Munoz. Rivera's a slight favorite, negative 145 to come back on. Munoz is plus 125. This is a rematch, and the first time I actually bet on Pedro Munoz, and I actually thought he won the fight, but man, it was a really, really close fight, so I wouldn't say it was a robbery or anything like that, but really, really, really good fight, really fun fight. This fight should actually, I don't know, this fight should be really, really high up the card, co-main event maybe, or third fight from the, you know, main event, but I don't know why it isn't. But I mean, we've seen this fight happen before. I think the fight's going to be kind of a carbon copy of the first fight. It's going to be just a continuation from the 6th round into the, you know, the 8th. I mean, not the 6th round, the 4th to 6th round. So I think it's gonna play out the exact same way as the first fight, with Munoz pressing forward, Jimmy Rivera, you know, picking his shots, and you know, both of them landing really hard shots, and seeing who's gonna go down first. But yeah, you know what? I mean, if I were to like kind of pick, I would pick the over. However, the over is negative 270, and that's way too steep. Like, even the first fight, like they were hurting each other. So like these guys are going to be throwing down, and Pedro Munoz always throws down, and he's a very dangerous guy to fight against. So I wouldn't trust that over, especially at that price. Maybe if it was priced a little bit lower, maybe negative 200 or lower, you know, negative 185 or something, I might play it. But at that price, hell no, that's just too steep, you know. But yeah, man, I don't have a pick for this one just because I think it's going to be a split decision either way. Okay, yeah, this Best Fight Odds definitely has things rearranged, so I'm not really gonna break these guys down in the proper order. So I'm just gonna pretty much be all over the place with this one. So the next fight listed on Best Fight Odds is Ian Heinisch versus Kelvin Gastelum, man, Kelvin is, he's forever going to be an underachiever just because he's just unwilling to go on a strict diet and diet down to 170. So that's always going to be a story with him. It's always going to be it's always going to be brought up in almost every fight at middleweight. So he's fighting against a kind of a shorter, tanky guy though here. So lucky for him, he's not fighting a really tall and lanky middleweight here, so he's kind of fighting a similar kind of tanky guy like him. So Ian Heinisch isn't really great anywhere, but the guy has a motor and he tends to break people just by working until people just he out hustles people, and that's pretty much his style. He's got a little bit of everything. He's got some power. He's not that great at the striking. He's not that smooth, but he like I said, he's a guy that chips away at your will. And Kelvin, I'm wondering where Kelvin's head is at, because he's been looking a little bit lackadaisical lately, and he's a young guy, so I'm sure he'll bounce back, but I wonder where his mindset's at. This is what I'm wondering. But on paper, I do have Kelvin Gastelum winning the stand-up and just landing those clean 1-2s that he's really good at, and just pretty much picking away at Ian Heinisch and winning a decision here, just because Heinisch is hard to put away. And as far as the grappling goes, I think Kelvin can pretty much handle himself in the grappling department for the most part. And so that's why I think it'll probably just end up being a stand-up fight. So unless Ian Heinisch actually would be the person to initiate the grappling and trying to be oversize him or something. But I think either way, whoever gets the takedown, both guys are able to scramble back to their feet, and so give me Kelvin Gastelum in this one by decision. Julian Marquez versus Maki Pitolo. Marquez is negative 170, Pitolo is plus 150. Pitolo is a guy who brain farts a ton. He's been finished multiple times. He doesn't have a very good record. And Marquez, on the other hand, is a pretty gritty dude. I don't think both these guys are that much skilled. I don't think either of them are super duper skilled, but I'm leaning towards Julian Marquez here, and I like that price at negative 170. I think he's gonna win. He's got better wins apparently so far. He had a win over Phil Hawes. That's a pretty good win, and he's got a win over a submission win over Darren Stewart. And Darren Stewart just submitted Maki Pitolo in their last fight. So, MMA math kind of has it. Has Marquez winning. So, I like Marquez here. However, I don't really like to bet on middleweights that are not in the top 10, just because there's a lot of variance there. So I might throw some action bets on it, but it's definitely not something that I would go heavy on at all. Let's see here. Gabe Green versus Phil Rowe. I haven't seen too much of these guys, either of these guys, but I have seen their last fights, and I kind of like both of them. They both have a little bit of potential here. Phil Rowe is a really, really tall dude. I think this is welterweight. Yeah, welterweight. Really tall guy at 6'3" or something like that. And I remember him having like an 80-inch reach. And then, so he's going to have like a 7-inch reach advantage and like a 5-inch height advantage over Gabriel Green. Gabriel Green, I actually liked him in his debut when he fought against, what's his face? Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez. I like the way he fought. Dude has a motor on him. He's got a pretty good chin. This guy's fucking built. Dude's pretty buff. He's really, really in shape. Throws a ton of volume. Has some tricky attacks. Pretty decent range. And Pretty dangerous guy. I like the way that he just keeps on coming, and I think this fight is going to be really competitive. I think this is going to be a really good fight. What's his name on the other hand? Phil Rowe on the other hand, yeah, like I said, man, this guy's got a ton of reach and length on most people in the division, and he's a pretty decent fighter too himself. So the line's priced at -110 apiece, and rightfully so. I think it's going to be a really close fight. So good fight on paper. I don't know who to pick on this one. I'm gonna probably lean towards Phil Rowe, only because of his length, but it could go either way. Not sure who to go with this one here. I think a lot of people are picking Gabe Green right here. He looked good at that loss in his debut, but yeah, man, that reach advantage, and it looks pretty. It's a lot, and yeah. So, but like I said, I think both guys need to prove themselves to really kind of know what they're really made of, because even with that reach, I think Phil Rowe isn't as adept at keeping range and keeping at the end of his punches. He tends to actually crash the distance himself. So, it's not to say that it's not like he's going to be at the end of his punches. So, it could be close either way. Next fight, we have Mallory Martin versus Polyana Viana. I don't really care, so I'm not going to break this fight down. Another girl fight, Jillian Robertson versus Miranda Maverick. I will actually break this fight down, possibly. Robertson's a very inconsistent fighter, so I'll just make it quick. I'm gonna pick Robertson here, even though I really don't like her at all, because she always pulls guard and doesn't really want to improve position when she gets put on her back. But in this position here, I think Miranda Maverick, she's probably got the better striking. If it stays standing, she's probably going to be outstriking Robertson here. But I don't think this Maverick chick is going to be able to keep the fight standing for the entire fight. She's probably going to be the meaner fighter here, and possibly batter what's her face on the feet. But I think Robertson's going to eventually get the fight to the ground and either find a submission or just win a 3-round decision. So give me Robertson here at plus underdog odds. I think give me her by underdog odds. But it is a girl fight, and she is very inconsistent. So it is what it is. The co-main event, I don't know why this is a co-main. That don't even get me started. But it's Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. I don't really care. I really don't care. So I'm not even gonna break that fight down. So it doesn't deserve to be a co-main event. Main event: Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman. Really hard to pick. It's hard to kind of know. I'm just gonna start off by saying these guys were former training partners, so it's hard to really know what happened in the training room and how that affects an actual fight for the actual title. So I really don't know. Usman's a big favorite here. He's negative 280, and to come back on Burns is plus 240. So I want to take a shot at Burns at plus 240. It's some pretty big odds. It's a 5-round fight. You never know what happens, and if you kind of Burns does pose a different threat than most people, just because he is a jiu-jitsu world champion and he's extremely dangerous off his back. And so that factor alone kind of makes him a little his ability to be dangerous with submissions definitely changes the dynamics of this particular fight, because Usman, nobody wants to get taken down by Usman. But in this case, honestly, even though I say that, nobody wants to be even though I say that, I think Usman is a pretty good grappler, and I think he might be able to handle himself for the most part on the ground with Gilbert Burns. And especially since they've been training together all their lives, so he kind of knows what Burns is good at and where to avoid his danger spots. So As far as the matchup on the ground goes, I think Usman will, do what Usman does and clinch you up against the fence and, batter you and really just stay active and just, do what he does, step on your toes and do all that bullshit, stop the fight from happening, but, staying busy enough for the ref to keep it going. So, he's the type of guy that's going to snap your hinge here against the wall, and I do see him doing some of that here against Burns, and Burns doesn't have the greatest gas tank either, so, the jury's kind of still out on, who Burns really is at 170, so I'm not really sure. But Burns here, he's going to have to, I think Burns has a chance here if he could rock, if he can make this into a dogfight when it comes to the stand-up, and that could actually make the I think that if the fight ends up playing that way, where extended stand-up battles, I think the playing field is a little more even. And at an even playing field, and you're gonna give me plus 240, I think I'll probably take it for that reason. But if the fight is fought against the fence, obviously that's Usman's style, and that's the way he wins fights. So if the fight goes out that way, and Usman's a pretty strong dude, and he's got some pretty good submission defense and all that stuff, and that's the way Usman wins. And judges like to give him fights. He's a pretty dominant dude, and I don't think Usman has ever been taken down either. So that's pretty much it. I think there's a way you could bet this fight, and if you do have props, is to take Usman by decision. If Usman wins, I think it's gonna be by decision, in that exact manner that I had mentioned. It's just clinching along the fence and hurting him, and just making it a grindy, tough match for Burns, and just grind away at him. But if Burns wins, I think Burns may have to finish. I wouldn't rule out his decision either. So for Burns, but more likely than not, it has to be Burns dropping him and hurting him on the feet, and maybe getting Usman to shoot a takedown and snatching something up or whatever it is, club and sub or something. But yeah, the line is wide, plus 240. Just because of that, I'll probably throw some money on Gilbert Burns for that reason. I do think this fight will go over though. I know the over is 4.5 is a really long time. I do think the fight more leaning, more times, maybe I think 4 out of 5 times the fight goes over. But that 5th time that it doesn't go over, I think it's because Gilbert Burns probably found a finish somewhere, make a knee or something or whatever it is, so that would be the case. So that's how I think this fight's gonna play out. So yep, that is all. Like I said, I got an ante down on this card. I don't really have too many solid picks. I do have one parlay, 6-man parlay that's gonna end with Vieira by submission. It's gonna pay me out $100 to win $5,000. So I'm pretty excited about that. I do feel like he's gonna win. But other than that, next week I have some better picks. So stay tuned and tune in for my next cast. And if you can, hit that subscribe button. I'd like to get my subscribers up to a certain point to where I'll be able to maybe go live or something, and maybe I'll do some live videos or something. We'll see. But yeah, do so. Peace.